Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of Oh What a World.
Hello.
We are here again.
Yes,
Oh
we
man,
are.
I always get the nervous jitters before we start recording. I have no idea why. How have you been, Amanda?
I've been okay. I mean, these couple of weeks starting out school are always weird at the first quarter, like halfway into the first quarter of the thing. It's kind of strange, but I'm doing okay.
That's
How have you
good. Yeah,
been?
oh goodness. ECU has been an experience, to say the least. Um, so I have a photography class and I have a sociology class, and those two have a way of pushing me in a way that I have not experienced in quite some time. So, photography, we go in, we critique things. That's just how art works. But this last critique, oh my God, I don't know what it was about it. It's a beginner's photography class, and we have, I think it's 2 or 3 students in there that are beastly. And I told you about this actually. And so whenever we critique things, whoever goes after one of them is immediately seen as, well, they don't see you as inferior, but whenever you put something after something so amazing, anything will look bad. So I had to
Yeah.
go after one of them, and they praised his work like crazy. It was great. It was amazing. He's truly amazing. And then mine got up there. Oh my
Oh
goodness.
no,
And
Deontay.
it wasn't that it was bad. It's just that going from hearing a bunch of positive comments to hearing a bunch of negative comments, it gets in your brain, It messes
Yes,
with you.
I understand that. But it'll be okay. All you can do from now is do your best and take their critiques not to heart, but use them as constructive criticism instead of just like, you suck because you're not him.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm
Because
trying my best.
if anyone doesn't know, they should go and follow Deonte on Instagram at Dio the Doodle and see his amazing photography. You literally are so good at photography. Like,
You do really good.
I
Follow
try.
Amanda at Ineffable. I'll
Yeah,
try to spell it,
yeah.
but I think I'm gonna mess
You
it
don't
up.
have to follow me at all. Like, it's not a problem.
Oh snap!
But yeah, no, Deontay's an amazing photographer. So I'm thinking that this guy is like Banksy or something.
He really is. He really, really is. Yeah, my
Goodness.
photography class has been interesting. We have a student in the class that she models, and my teacher and that student were having a conversation early in the morning, and they were talking about one of the photographers that our teacher is a friend of. His name is Bryce, and they were talking back and forth, and I was sitting right in between them. So I obviously heard a pretty large chunk of the conversation. And somewhere along the end of the conversation, they started talking about the type of photography that he does. And apparently, he does new photography specifically. And so my
Oh,
professor was going on and saying, "Oh, I saw you in one of Bryce's pieces. It was crazy. It was on my feed." And the girl responded with, "Yeah, yeah, I have to shoot with him again on Friday. It's gonna be fun." And so I put two and two together, and I was like, "Wait, you saw her naked?" Question
what an
mark. And
amazing
then I went to
picture.
yeah, I went to his page. I wasn't sure what to expect. I went to his page, and lo and behold, he's really good. But also, that girl from my class saw her
Oh my
butt
goodness. Oh,
unintentionally. It was the weirdest experience I've had in a long time, because now, I mean, I can't tell her that I saw that. I mean, I
yeah,
could,
but
but
you
like,
you gotta get in that artist mindset of like the body is just art and that there's no attraction between the art piece, the medium.
yeah. Ugh, every time I see her, I see it's as if her butt has a lower opacity and is over her face, and I is it's not that bad. I'm just weird about it. I don't know, but it's been fun. Okay, okay,
It
wait.
sounds fun.
I'm stoked for this specific topic. Okay, and I'm gonna like let you guess how many pages of notes I wrote. Take a guess.
I'm going to say 3.
So you were kind of close, kinda.
I'm
So
sorry.
last
I tried to
night,
guess.
no, you did great. So last night, I went down a rabbit hole that I honestly I regret a bit.
Oh
It
no.
was insane. It was nuts. I have 19 pages of notes for this topic. I was very unsatisfied.
Wait. How many pages?
19.
That is not close.
I know. I'm sorry. I didn't want to make you feel bad.
How do you get? Oh my God, Deonte.
Yeah, it was. I was writing the notes for these last night, and I was legitimately paranoid. I
Oh
I was jumping at every single sound I heard. You'll you'll hear why in just a second. All
okay.
right, I'm gonna introduce this episode. Are you ready, Amanda? You might want to
Yeah, I'm
like
ready.
get something to surround yourself with because this
Yeah, I
one.
have a blanket over my head per usual.
Yes. Okay, that is good. Whew. All right, everyone, get ready. Also, if you're squeamish with more graphic stuff, maybe skip this one episode. It's okay. I mean, we'll be here next week. It's fine.
Yeah.
Just go ahead. It's fine. You can leave. This is everyone's warning. If you're paranoid like me by the end of this, I am sorry. You have been warned.
Oh
Okay.
no.
All right, everybody, get ready. Get close. Here we go. All right, Amanda. So it is Saturday morning. You awake to the sounds of birds chirping and the smell of bacon sizzling on the stovetop downstairs. Joy fills your soul as you realize that today is your day. As you bound down the stairs, you realize that Saturday morning cartoons are on. You nearly scream with joy as you run to gather your breakfast before you sit down and watch your favorite fry cook under the sea. You sit down with your breakfast in hand as the new episodes begin to play. Your eyes refuse to leave the screen for even a second, as what appears to be a new episode of SpongeBob graces your television screen. You smile with satisfaction as the bacon leaves your plate. Mom calls you from the kitchen. You turn your head to tell her that you'll be there in just a sec. Whenever you turn your head back, you notice that the sound on the TV has stopped. You notice that the laid back music and happy laughter has vanished. Confused, you look at the screen once more and you ask yourself, why is Squidward looking at me? Why do his eyes look like that? Ladies and gentlemen, on episode 3, we're talking about the lost episodes.
What? I've never heard of this in my entire life.
Oh boy, it's pretty bad. I'm not
That
gonna
sounds
sugarcoat.
really scary. Oh my goodness. I don't want Squidward looking at me.
Oh boy, once you find out what he looks like, you are not gonna want to watch SpongeBob anymore. Okay,
No.
so the lost episodes, the origin of the lost episodes, are really weird, very mysterious. So lost episodes come from many different shows. It's not one specific legend. It is a bunch of legends collectively. So for an episode to be lost, there must be a show involved. So SpongeBob, for example, and Ed, Ed and Eddie, all the classic shows that you come to know and love, all those amazing stories and all those characters, you grow with them and you start to feel for them. So, lost episodes are essentially episodes that were pulled from TV or that were unreleased because they were either too violent or too disturbing for children. A lot of these episodes have really, really messed up stuff. Like you are gonna hear. Um,
Okay.
just keep in mind, for something to be pulled from television for being too disturbing, it's got to be
It
pretty
has,
bad.
yeah, no, that has to be really bad. Even nowadays, you see things like with Adult Swim, and the things that you see on Adult Swim are scary as hell sometimes. And for it to just be pulled directly off of television will be insane.
It's pretty scary. A lot of these stories are semi-fictional. It's never specified if these are 100% correct. A lot of these stories circulate the internet and they become really popular because one person will go on Reddit or they'll go on a website and they'll claim to be someone that works at the studio that the show is produced in. And obviously, they can't just let things go on TV without being screened. So there's a screening team that goes through every single episode that goes on TV and make sure that it's safe. And
Mhm.
so a lot of these stories are supposedly from people on the screening team. I'm not exactly sure how 100% true that is. I don't know how correct that is, but it's never disproven. A lot of these come from creepypasta websites, but I couldn't find anything in the 7 hours that I was searching. So I'm just going to assume, let's just, for the sake of this episode, for the sake of the mood, let's pretend that they're real. You know?
Yeah.
Suspend your disbelief for just a moment, because it's very possible, and it's kind of creepy how possible it is. And I mean, if we never saw them on TV, we'd have no idea.
Yeah, we don't have any idea. I'm very gullible already, so it doesn't even matter. I'll believe it when you tell me it.
All right, so we have a lot to cover, but what I'm going to do is I'll read you a story, and then I'm going to get your opinion on it before you move on, because they are... Oh, I'm shaking. Ooh, I'm sure you can hear it in my voice a little bit. Okay, let's do this. So the first episode comes from The Simpsons. It is titled Dead Bart.
What in the world?
Which is, yeah, it's pretty bad from the out of the gate. Okay. All right, here is the summary of the episode. By the way, if you guys wanted to get the full effects, or if you want to find out all this in explicit detail, I would suggest just looking them up, because they're really easy to find. So there you go. But here we are. We're going to go into this and summarize it for the people that do not want to be terrified for the rest of their lives.
Yay.
Or I'll try not to do that. I'm sorry if I do. Oh, goodness. All right, here we go. So this episode of The Simpsons shows the Simpson family going about their daily lives and playing a board game. Bart Simpson, being the troublemaker that he is, begins to cheat at the board game, to the dismay of his father, who promptly disciplines him. This episode jumps to an airport runway where a plane is taking off. It is later revealed that the Simpsons are on board the plane. On their way to an unknown location, Bart is sitting near a window playing a handheld game to pass the time. A flight attendant approaches Bart and says to him, "Sir, it is not safe to use electronic devices yet." One thing that you guys are going to notice, sorry to cut up in the middle of the story, everything seems normal, and then a turn or twist happens very quickly that you don't expect. Be warned, this is where it gets kind of crazy. No. So the flight attendant comes up to him, says you can't use electronics at this point. Bart looks at the attendant and says, "You're the..." and then is cut off. Before he can finish his sentence, he is abruptly cut off by the window near him shattering. Bart is sucked out of the plane, but manages to grab the edge and is holding on for dear life. Marge Simpson can be seen searching for her baby and looking at Bart hanging on, and she screams to him before Bart falls. He falls from the plane, free-falling, with terror on his face, which sounds like something that would be in a cartoon, and sounds like something that would be hilarious to see. And you think, Bart's gonna be fine. He's gonna survive this. He's a cartoon character. Everything is fine. But this is where things get really dark. He falls for a really brief moment. I'd say about 3 or 4 seconds before he makes impact with the ground. The camera distorts a little bit, and there appears to be some sort of damage to the tape, because whenever you look back and you see Bart on the ground, his corpse is mangled, and he stares into the camera, not with a cartoon grin or some sort of Simpsons-themed cartoony effect. His face is distorted, and it is bursted open. And so his family is devastated by the loss of Bart. Obviously, they were the ones on the plane. It was horrifying for them. And so this episode continues with his family visiting Bart's grave every single day until they literally turn into skeletons. And they're just skeleton people walking around now. They mourned for that long. It took about a year, I think it was, in the show for them to actually die themselves, and they turned into these weird moving skeleton hybrids. Think spooky, scary skeletons, but The Simpsons.
Spooky, scary skeletons.
Okay, so when the family visits Bart's grave one last time, they notice that the headstones in the cemetery have all changed, and there are a lot more of them than normal. And so once they reach Bart's grave, they look around to see that the headstones show the names of every single guest star that have appeared on the show at this point. And so that is the end of that episode.
What in the world? Oh no. That was terrifying, Deonte.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I regret to inform you, these are ranked from least disturbing to most disturbing.
No. Played me.
No,
scary.
Oh goodness. So I was looking into the notes, and yes, I said earlier I did 7 hours of research for this. I was dedicated. This was amazing. Last episode, I was unsatisfied with how I did the research, and then I decided I'm gonna step it up this time. So 7 hours, pretty in depth. It was really bad because I had to watch each of these, and this one in particular was really eerie. Oh, it
You
was.
watch them?
Yeah, so they people either, I'm not sure if it's 100% if they re-upload them, but a lot of people will recreate them or they will claim to have the original version. So these are all actual things you can watch and you can
Oh
find them
my
on YouTube.
god.
So if you can't find the actual original, people will recreate what it looks like. It's pretty horrifying, if I'm being honest. One thing that I forgot to mention is that while Bart was on the ground, dead, his face did not look like his own. It looked incredibly demonic. It was not good. His teeth, it was really bad. If you want to see it, just type in dead Bart, go to Google Images. It'll be one of the first images that you see. You'll
Yeah,
know
no,
which one I'm
I'm
talking
looking
about
it
when you
up.
see it.
It's scary.
Pretty bad. There's one thing that I do have to mention though. The producer, I suppose it would be, mentioned that Fox was being kind of rough with him. They were being kind of mean in a way. I don't remember exactly what he said. There wasn't too much that I found, but I remember reading that the Simpsons producers, they've predicted a lot of events and they've also predicted a lot of deaths. And so this episode was meant to show the producer's power in a sense. So he realized that he was predicting things accurately. And so he just decided to crank it up to 100 and see how far out he can get with this. And so he attempted to predict the death of every single guest star that they had on the show up to that point. And whether it actually happens, I am unsure. There were a lot of people that were on The Simpsons, but he decided to do some sort of experiment, and this episode was that experiment. He did not comment
Yeah.
on any of the other stuff that was in the episode, though, but he did say that he put all those names there intentionally. So if they all die on the day that he said, we need to all find that man because
Yeah,
he
no,
is
that man is
he's
not okay. You need to go find him real quick.
oh goodness, that'd be terrifying. What if, I don't know, what if he has some sort of control over his
I
his
don't want to
guests?
know.
Oh boy, it's pretty bad. All right. Are you feeling all right? We're
I'm
trucking on.
okay.
Going. We're going for it. Oh no.
Let's keep going. Ooh,
Okay.
so excited.
Yay. Okay. So we are continuing with The Grieving is the name of this episode. The Grieving. The Amazing World of Gumball is where this episode comes from.
No, I love Gumball. No.
I know, it's such a great show. It's so good. Hilarious. Here we go. So this episode starts off with Gumball Watterson, the main character, standing in the corner of what appears to be a classroom. Gumball stares at the ground with a sad expression on his face as what appears to be the sobs of a grown woman grow louder and louder each second. The episode skips and we are shown Gumball's house. Gumball's father, Richard Watterson, sits on the couch with a look of anguish across his face. It appears that he is bound. He has his mouth wide open in what appears to be a scream. Richard is bound by what looks like a rope. The sobs begin to get more and more distorted as the person crying begins to become frantic. Sounds of metal and movement can be heard as the image on screen begins to shift and distort. Gumball's mother walks in a black dress, and lays down next to Richard on the couch. The sobs have turned into screams at this point. The scene skips yet again, and we can see both Gumball's parents missing their eyes, and they appear to have a look of distress across their face. Music begins to play. The music sounds as if it's from an ice cream truck, or some sort of children's story. The scene skips again, and shows the principal of Gumball's school staring directly at the camera. The image of him staring is incredibly distorted as the scene shifts once more. The next scene shows the woods. Eyes peering from the darkness. In the corner of the image on the ground lies the head of Gumball's little sister. The head appears to be missing both eyes as well. The image changes once more, and we are met with Gumball Watterson hanging from a noose, lifeless. And that is The Grieving.
What? No, what the world? They need to give these artists some light. Do they just be in a dungeon? Like, they can't just be sitting there
Yes,
making this
that's what I was
stuff.
thinking.
Like they really out here sweatshopping these artists and animators, and they making the most disturbing things.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
It's pretty bad.
So
It's
morbid.
yeah.
Like,
I can't imagine.
Who invited Edgar Allan Poe to the fucking animators fest? Like,
So the reason I was so paranoid last night is because I had to watch these, and so I used a few websites to get the stories together, but I did not use any specific articles for these notes necessarily. I either went straight from the creepypasta or I watched it and did a play-by-play. So a lot of these are play-by-plays of me watching it and typing down what I see. It's something I can't explain. It's not fun to watch, to be honest. It's not even the fact that it is necessarily horrifying. It's just that it makes you feel as if you're in danger.
They're taking something so juvenile and so like vulnerable. Like when you're a child, you literally just watch whatever you see. You just observe and watch anything that you see, and especially your favorite shows. Seeing them in such a negative light, oh my god, I would literally crap myself if I was at least 11 again.
Yeah, it really, I think the reason it's so disturbing is because, like you said, it hits a part of you that is absolutely pure. These shows have always been the most amazing memories for me. I have never had a negative memory about a cartoon on Cartoon Network or any sort of Disney show.
Me neither.
And so hearing this, it kind of pokes at a part of me that I didn't realize still existed, and it makes it feel evil for some reason.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Definitely.
I don't know. Actually, I just realized something. Your comments just now is probably going to make this next story a lot more impactful.
Oh no.
Are you ready?
Love that. Yeah, let's go.
All right. This next one is called Tom's Basement from Tom and Jerry.
No, that's already creepy by itself. Like it already does weird things already. Like, okay.
It really does. It's okay. Here we go. Tom and Jerry are no strangers to violence and mishap, but the episode titled Tom's Basement pushes the charming cartoon to a terrifying place. The episode begins with Tom's owner telling him to stay away from the basement. Tom continues with his day. Upon resting near the door, Tom's owner becomes violent and beats him in order to keep him away from the door. Tom is seen with bruises and blood on his fur, and also with a broken leg. Tom begins to beg Jerry to stop causing trouble due to how severe his punishments are getting. Jerry laughs and pushes Tom, who falls towards the door just inside of his owner. The owner comes forth and begins to scream at Tom for breaking the rules. The screams are louder than any other sound the show's produced before. Jerry then proceeds to take a knife from the kitchen and stab the owner in the leg violently. The owner proceeds to die of blood loss. Both Tom and Jerry carry the owner's body down into the basement. Once they arrive, it is shown that there are many corpses in the basement, each rotting and showing signs of meeting violent ends. Tom and Jerry both shake hands. They appear to have stopped a serial killer in action. Just as things seem to be ending on a morbidly positive note, Jerry begins to grin wider than usual. Jerry then proceeds to stab Tom to death. As the show begins to end, Jerry is seen putting up a for sale sign in front of the house as he smiles and laughs to himself. And that is Tom's Basement.
Oh my gosh. Why does it sound like that could literally happen in a Tom and Jerry episode? Because
Yes.
Things like that happen in Tom and Jerry.
It's so bad. I actually remember an episode where, I don't know if it was an episode where Tom just couldn't catch Jerry. For some reason, Tom was depressed, and it was very apparent that he was depressed. And so there was an episode that was, I remember seeing this frequently, multiple times it was aired on TV, where at the end of the episode, Tom goes and sits on a railroad track. Oh, I remember.
Yeah, that's the last episode. Literally ended it by killing them off.
I did not know that that's how, wow. That completely changes everything that I know about Tom and Jerry. What the heck? Jeez. Okay. For those of you that haven't seen the episode, Tom and Jerry, they get girlfriends. They each get a girl version of themselves. So Tom has a girl cat and Jerry has a girl mouse. And so they all get together. Everything's happy. Everything's lovey-dovey. And so all of a sudden they all break up. And instead of confronting it and dealing with it, Tom goes and sits on a railroad track. And then the episode skips to see Jerry with his relationship. Jerry loses his girlfriend too. And then they both sit on the railroad track. And that sounds pretty innocent, but there's a train coming behind them.
They literally just put the end. And that was the last airing of Tom and Jerry.
Okay.
Yay! Okay.
Yay.
We had some technical difficulties, but that is okay. We are working with it.
Mhm.
All right. Amanda is back in her full, I don't know. Okay.
Yeah, no, I don't know what that was, but
So these lost episodes, they, for a very long time, whenever I first was getting into creepypastas as a whole, these are some of the things that inspired me to become so into horror today, because I grew up and I didn't see any sort of malice. I didn't see any sort of evil in these episodes. But then later, as a teen, preteen, kinda, I was curious because this is crazy. Just hearing about your favorite cartoon characters straight up killing people without any remorse and having it animated, there must be some pretty messed up stuff going on
Things
there. So
with the artist, definitely.
I think for sure a lot of these artists are experiencing one thing that I have even come in contact with as an animator. So animations take a really long time to make, and it's really time consuming. If you wanted to make, I don't know, say an hour-long animation, if you wanted to create something for that long at 60 frames per second, it would take hours. It's crazy. I still don't know why I'm going into this field. It's just so satisfying to get it done. But during the process of making it, it feels like torture. And if you ask any animator that's out there that's a professional, it's really difficult. It really gets you doing the same thing over and over again for hours, thousands
Mhm.
of times. It breaks you down a little bit. And there is a lot of talk about the animation industry in these big corporations such as Disney and Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon. A lot of them are not working in the best conditions. And that isn't to say that these companies are bad or that something is wrong with the company, but if you think about their work hours and if you think about how that tolls their mental health, it's not good. It's really tough sometimes for especially the people that have to draw these animations. It's really bad.
Definitely. Yeah. It takes a lot of dedication. So I understand, and maybe they're animating in one specific place at one desk and doing a little bit and working with a very small team and until they literally go crazy. Because I'm sure that they don't stop. Because once you get started in the groove of things, it's really hard to stop.
Yeah, I'm kind of unsure how I feel about 2D animation because that is a lot more strenuous than. Okay, I can't say that one form is way more strenuous than the other. They're all pretty intensive, but a 2D animator will have a harder time than a 3D animator due to the fact that three-dimensional figures do not have to be redrawn every single time. And so it makes sense. It makes sense why a lot of these artists from the older cartoon days are showing signs that they have really messed up minds because I remember there was a documentary about the making of Snow White, and they had it was honestly like World War II again. Everyone in this huge room was helping create this one thing. There was a conveyor belt where people, well, not a conveyor belt, but there was a line where people would draw one image and then they pass it on. And so there was just a huge group of people doing all this stuff. And I also read about the downsides to all this stuff. They were working with some rather new stuff back then. They didn't have computers necessarily as easily accessible as we do now. And so they had to work with all kinds of ink and all kinds of messy. It was on paper, to give you an idea. It was all they had to scan them in on, or they had to write them with ink on these clear pieces of paper and then put them layer by layer together. It was crazy. It was insane.
It was literally it took multiple colorists and multiple line artists and so many sketches, and they had to make sure that they had models and actors and actresses come in to actually see their movement and how they move. It took a lot of work.
Okay, I wanted to give you a moment to cool down before these next two because it gets crazy. I'm gonna slow down a little bit for this next one to explain a bit, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Just a tiny bit. Okay, here we go. So this next one is titled Suicide Mouse. Oh, this is Mickey Mouse. As the name implies, I don't know where this comes from. I'm not 100% sure if this was meant to be an episode or if this was meant to be a segment in an episode, but it's very short. It's a very short clip. And so people still kind of don't know where it came from, to be completely honest, but it is incredibly unsettling. All right, I'm gonna get into it. Okay, so this last episode starts with the iconic Mickey Mouse walking through a neighborhood with his head facing down as he appears to be deep in thought. TV static is the only sound that can be heard. Mickey's pace begins to speed up ever so slightly as the static stops, and the screen abruptly cuts to black. The screen stays black for several moments, for a bit. When the scene is restored, Mickey walks in silence for a short moment, until distorted inhuman wails begin to bellow in the background. The wails slowly turn to a scream as Mickey reaches a part of town that is more run down than the area he was previously in. Mickey quickens his pace. His thoughtful stare is replaced with a massive smile, and his eyes have lost all color. The screams change once again and turn into tortured sobs. Mickey's face has changed as well. His eyes are sunken deep into his decaying skull as his grin becomes rotted, and his nose is hanging by mere nerves. The town behind Mickey is now burning and broken down from what appears to be some sort of apocalypse. Mickey begins to sprint as the wails reach their loudest and most terrifying. Mickey falls and appears to die, laying on the pavement. His rotted face is shown to the camera as what appears to be a needle falls from his pocket. The show ends with strange music, with a static image of Mickey with his mouth open.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's pretty it was really hard to watch, not because of the images necessarily. I don't know what the deal is with a lot of these. They have a lot of screams. They have a lot of yells in them in the background, and it's not even a jump scare kind of thing, a very quick sudden burst of it. It's the kind of stuff that as a human, it makes you feel bad. It makes you feel panic because once again, I have no idea who made this, but it sounds so real, and that's the
No,
reason I
it
was freaking out.
it looks real too. The fact that it looks like it's literally made by fucking Walt Disney himself is the most
Yes.
unsettling thing, because he made, like, a lot of these artists really did make a bunch of disturbing things in their shows. Like, if anybody, like, you can remember the what is it called? There's a episode and it's about World War II, and it's like Donald Duck pretending to have to be a Nazi. It's literally the most unsettling thing I've ever watched in my life. Like, it's making a joke about the Nazis and everything and being proud to be an American, but still it's really upsetting, like, looking back at it.
Yeah, it's crazy. I remember that I think it was one of my art teachers. I can't remember 100%, but we had to watch that in its entirety. It was really weird. It didn't make any sense in my mind. I couldn't comprehend it because you wouldn't put those two things together, Donald Duck and then the Nazis.
Yeah.
They're polar opposites when you think
They
about
really
it.
are. And I understand that it was war propaganda back then, but, like, it's like the same thing with what is it, Dr. Seuss, and he wrote a book about everything that was going on.
Oh wow, I actually didn't know that. What do you know what it's called?
I know he wrote something about it. It might have been the one story about you remember the birds with the stars on their bellies?
I think I do.
Yeah, it was like not cool and it was cool, and then, like, everybody had stars on their belly. I'm pretty sure that was it was either that one was either about World War II or about the race wars, but I can't really remember right now.
Holy crap. I might have to check
But yeah.
that out. That sounds pretty
And
cool.
he did a lot of political cartoons too.
Wow. Oh man. I think I actually do remember something else. Oh, I remember. Okay. So, as I was doing the research for these, I have come to find that there are a lot of references to suicide in just a lot of cartoons, not even in disturbing episodes like these. For example, if you notice a lot of the Looney Tune type of cartoons, or if you notice just anything that was made in the style, a lot of it involves guns. And if you watch some of them, you'll see the main character straight up hold guns to their head
Yeah, I
and
see that so
shoot
much.
themselves. And so a lot of the episodes will do it in a childish, and they'll make it cartoony so it doesn't look as violent. And so the person that pulls the trigger is always fine. Their face is just smoky because of the gunpowder. But there are a few of them that you can find if you look that legitimately end the episode with that, and you're supposed to assume that the character just killed themselves. And
Yeah.
I'm not sure how to feel about those things.
Like
that's
when you're
horrifying.
younger, you really don't think about it. Like it's kind of like a mindless thing that happens within the story. But when you actually like as an adult, I'll be like, "What the hell are you watching? Turn that shit off right now." I'd be like, "You need to stay watching Wow Wow Wubsy."
Yes, it's I don't know. I really don't know. There were also a few moments in different cartoons that were disturbing for me as well. There's a Tom and Jerry episode where Tom literally goes to hell and has to make up for his sins in order to get out of hell. It's and the
Yeah.
devil's there. I really don't know. I don't know. I don't know why they decided to go that direction. There is another episode of Tom and Jerry. I think it may be the same one, not 100%, but there is one where Tom completely breaks character. He looks directly into the camera or at the viewer, and in a deep voice, he says, "Don't you believe him?" I don't really know why he said that, but
Oh my god.
yeah, it was in a man's like a deep echoey voice. It sounded like he was in a cave. And I'm sure you can find it if you just look it up, but it is when I was younger, I never understood what on earth he was talking about. It was always horrifying because the show completely stops and then it cuts to happy music, and that's what you're left with. You're left with
Oh my
this creepy
god.
cat like I don't know. It's kind of scary. It's kind of scary. I'm glad the cartoons and animations nowadays on Cartoon Network are a lot more friendly. There were some really dark episodes of a lot of different shows, and so there are dark episodes of different cartoons that are aired. So these are the ones that get taken out. There are plenty online that are terrifying and that are
Yeah.
still messed up, that are up and that actually play. It's
I
pretty
know
nuts.
I know this is unrelated, but well, it's kind of related. But you remember that show called Cusco's New School, right? It's like
Yeah, Empress, yeah.
there
Oh,
was
that's great.
one episode, and it was about like skeleton aardvarks or something, and it was literally scared the shit out of me as a kid. Like just imagine the shape of a fucking aardvark, like an anteater ass shit, and like
Ugh.
its long ass nose, and it's just being skeleton like, and it would pop up at the bottom of the screen, and it scared me every single time. And like I remember like seeing that episode start, and I have to immediately change the channel because I get so scared.
Oh no, holy crap. Yeah, I relate. I've had episodes that I just could not watch as well.
Oh my
For those
goodness,
of
the
yes.
SpongeBob episode when he went to the place and they weren't talking.
Yes, and they kept going they kept doing that.
It
I
scared
don't
me so
under
bad.
That was crazy. That was a crazy episode. He was wow, he was screwed if he couldn't.
It looked like
That
a
was like
it looked like a crackhead was about to come out.
it really did. That is, I'm pretty sure everyone listening, I'm sure we've all just had this moment of like, oh my God, I remember that one. If you have, leave it in the comments. That'd be great. But
Yes,
yeah,
please.
it is weird. It is so weird because I remember that episode specifically, almost frame by frame, because of how it was different. There was
It was
something
so
weird about it.
different. It was just so strange.
It honestly, it shook me as a kid because throughout the entire time he was down there, they never jumped to, oh, he's fine, or oh, everything's fine. It was serious the whole time he was there.
No, it was
And
so serious.
it was dark. There was scary music. The people there were like the
Super
fish from
strange.
yes, the people for the
They were
fish
different
from deeper
colors.
down. They were fish lower down in the ocean are terrifying anyways. SpongeBob had to encounter them and interact with them. There was that weird guy with the balloon. Wait, did he have a balloon?
Yeah.
I think he did have a balloon. There was that guy with the balloon. Oh my goodness.
And there was the fish with the light on it.
Yes. Wow. That's right. Oh wow. That I might have to watch that episode again. That's
Yeah,
freaking
no, I think
crazy.
after this I'm about to watch it.
Also, I think another show that I have to say really, really did a good job of maintaining a theme was Courage the Cowardly Dog. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
That show.
I really tried not to watch that show at all because just the energy that show like emits is bad.
Yes. Wow. When I was younger, I used to go over to my grandmother's house a ton. And so my grandmother had a TV, but not a remote. And so whatever was on the, whatever channel I had it on, it was going to stay on that channel. as I fell asleep. And so Cartoon Network, for those of you that didn't watch Cartoon Network, I'm sorry for your childhood. But it's pretty great. You lay back and it's awesome until about 10 o'clock, and then things get kind of crazy. Sometimes it shifts into Adult Swim immediately, but if you're lucky, you can get an extra show to come on that's kid friendly. And so Courage the Cowardly Dog would always come on late in the night. And so, me being me, I was curious. And I was optimistic. That was one of the most disturbing nights I've had in a long time. That show was no joke. Goodness.
No, it wasn't.
It's pretty. That actually, I was looking at one of the lists that I was talking about earlier. That show is on one of the lists for one of the most disturbing episodes. There's an episode where I'm not sure what his name is, but there's this man that just appears at Courage's house, and supposedly he's a groomer. I guess, I don't know, but he has this inhuman smile, this huge grin, and these sunken eyes. And what he does is he coerces Courage up into the bathroom upstairs, and he proceeds to shave Courage completely naked. And he has this really creepy things that he says all the time. He goes, naughty, and that's what he'd do the whole. Yes, and so Courage would be minding his own business, and all of a sudden he'd walk up and be like, "You've been very naughty," and then he would do his thing. It was weird. It was freaking strange.
No, that sounds so strange.
Oh my goodness. There's a lot of episodes out there. It's really crazy. I don't know if I'll cover episodes like that, since I don't know. If people want that, then I can cover specifically dark episodes that are actually up. I might do that, since I did the ones that are off. I don't know. We'll see.
Maybe.
We'll see where it goes.
Well,
okay.
Looking forward to the future.
Yay. All right. So we had a pretty good break in between stories. There is one story left that is the most iconic of all of them. I am not sure if this is the first one, but this one is huge. This one has been a part of pop culture even.
Wow.
Yeah. So once again, we've already gone over quite a lot. So for those of you that don't want to be thoroughly disturbed, you can skip. It's fine. This episode, we've already talked about quite a lot. It is fine. Get ready, Amanda. This one, I spent the most on this one. This one has, let me see. I think I've got about I think I have 2 pages for this one, because I went very deep detail.
Okay.
For those of you that are kind of squeamish to gore, I left the very specific details out. And if you haven't heard of this, I recommend going to look at it yourself. It'll mess you up, but it's really good. It's a really good read. It is called Squidward's Suicide from SpongeBob SquarePants. Does that ring any bells, Amanda?
I've heard about it on Creepypasta, but I never took a look.
So this is the king of all lost episodes. This is the most popular one that I could find. So get ready. We're about to dive in. There's a lot to cover. Okay, so Squidward's suicide begins like every other SpongeBob episode. Squidward is practicing his clarinet when SpongeBob and Patrick begin to giggle outside. Annoyed, Squidward yells at them and tells them to quiet down, as he has a concert tomorrow. SpongeBob and Patrick understand and go elsewhere. The scene changes as we are shown the ending of Squidward's concert. The show begins to glitch for a mere moment as Squidward finishes up his performance. Squidward appears visibly afraid. The crowd slowly turns against Squidward until they erupt in a symphony of boos and yells. There is something different about the yells and boos that are heard in this episode specifically. They are filled with malice and hatred. Even SpongeBob is amongst the crowd booing as well, which is very out of character for him. As SpongeBob is brought into view, it is revealed that every single member of the crowd has hyper-realistic, bloodshot eyes. The scene changes, and we see a mortified Squidward sitting at the edge of his bed. Back at home after the concert, a night sky can be seen from his window. The audio of the episode goes away. Squidward sits in silence, simply blinking for 30 seconds straight. Squidward softly begins to cry. He puts his face into his tentacles and continues to cry for several more moments. The silence slowly turns to the sound of a breeze in a forest. The camera begins to zoom in as his cries turn from soft to deep, full of pain and sadness. The screen begins to twitch periodically. The sound of the trees grows louder as time passes. The wind is so loud that it appears to be a storm brewing. True terror sets in when you hear Squidward's cries. They have changed from his own cries to real human cries. The wails are so distinct that people viewing the episode said that it appears to be coming from the room next to the one that you're in. Under the sound of the cries and wind, faint laughter can be heard. The screen twitches violently for a moment as an image is hidden in a single frame. The images are very brutal. The images are that of a brutally mangled child. A shadow looms over the child, appearing to be the one responsible. The scene cuts back to Squidward, who is crying now louder than before, his hands still over his eyes. What appears to be blood runs down his tentacles and down his arms. The blood appears to be hyper-realistic as well. People that saw this episode firsthand report that the blood seems so hyper-realistic that you could reach out and touch it yourself, and it will be on your hand. The sound of the wind in the background becomes so strong that you begin to hear the snapping of trees and sticks. The laughing that was heard before has now deepened beyond the point of being human. After a few moments, the screen flashes an image again. This time, it is an image of a small girl, no older than 10 years old, laying in a pool of what appears to be her own blood. The scene goes back to Squidward. The laughter, the cries, the wind, all the sounds have stopped. There is only silence. Squidward lets down his arms, revealing his face. His eyes are hyper-realistic. They are bleeding, bloodshot, and pulsating. He just stares at the screen as if he can see the viewer. A few moments go by, and then he begins to cry. Only this time, he does not cover his eyes, and his cries are mixed with loud and piercing screams. Blood and tears begin to pour from his eyes as he continues to cry while staring directly at you, unmoving. The wind sound returns, followed by the deep voice laughing. Another photo is displayed to the viewer. Then mere moments later, several more images of victims are flashed on the screen in various positions. The images seem to be frames from a video, yet they are separated, so they appear as images. All screaming and crying stops as Squidward stares at the viewer. This time, only his face is in the frame. A deep voice off-screen says, "Do it." The camera pans out, and we see Squidward has a shotgun in his hand. He proceeds to pull the trigger and end his own life. His blood and brain matter cover the walls. The episode ends with Squidward's body laying on his bed, eyeballs hanging from his facial cavity.
Oh my god.
And that is that. Ugh. Yeah, no, this one was the most difficult to stomach because there are details that I left out because they were too much. If you want to read the whole story and if you really want to know what was going on, the dead children, they were a lot more descriptive. The person responsible did a lot more than what I mentioned here. It's really hard to read. It's really, really hard to read.
Oh my goodness. I'm good. What you said alone was scary enough.
So this is one of the most popular because I think this is one of the very first quote unquote lost creepypasta legends out there. The story comes from one of the Screen People? No, not Screen People. One of the producers or one of the screening team members was watching this episode with his team because they were trying to make sure that the new episode was safe. And so going into it, they saw Squidward Suicide as the title. And since these episodes are not released to the public yet, the team and the animators, they have jokes that they hide in the episodes before they actually release them to the public, but those jokes get removed. So everyone thought that it was going to be a very simple joke. Everyone thought it was a little strange, but the people reviewing this, from the story, people were vomiting, people were crying, people were leaving the room, and apparently Squidward didn't seem to be animated, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Whatever was going on with that video or whatever was going on with that episode was not like normal. It wasn't just animators pushed too far. There was something darker going on there. And they even called down, I forget his name. He's the creepy dude that was orchestrating iCarly and Victorious.
Oh, Dan Schneider?
Yeah, they called him down there. I think they called him. No. Sorry, I'm wrong. It was one of the big Nickelodeon guys, though.
The creator of what is it, Fairly Odd Parents and all of those people, and Danny Phantom.
I don't remember his name, but yeah, I think it was it was the creator of SpongeBob, I believe, and also those guys. I don't know.
Maybe.
But he was brought down there too. He was furious because whoever had made this was really messing around. They took the joke so far. In the story, I mentioned that there were images of kids, and there were a lot of them. I went through it pretty quickly because it's not easy to listen to coming from anyone. So if you do read the story, if you really adore children, please be careful because there are a lot more that I did not get to because I just felt as if it was a bit too much. So if you go right now, Amanda, and type in Squidward suicide, an image will appear of Squidward's face, and it'll show you what he looks like in the episode, if you want to, of course. I know it's kind of... I think you should, though. I think you should, because I need to tell you one last thing after you do so.
Okay, I'm doing it right now.
People have photoshopped him in a lot of different things, but if you just look at... it should be the first one, or maybe the second one. If it's in a weird position, then you know it's...
I think I found it. I'm not sure.
What does it look like? I mean... try to explain as best you can. I know
there's a couch in the background.
Yes, that's the one.
Okay.
Yeah, so that face has become super iconic. I mean, it hasn't reached mainstream levels of popularity. Obviously, they can't plaster suicide Squidward all over the place because, that's not good. So recently, for those of you that have watched SpongeBob back in the day, you understand that SpongeBob nowadays is different. You can visibly see that it's different. It's a different aesthetic. The show in the past used to have this simple and kind of not simplified look, but you can tell that SpongeBob was drawn differently, and you can tell that all the characters were drawn differently. There was a different texture to all of them. Nowadays, SpongeBob looks like he's made of plastic, and he's smooth, and all the jokes revolve around butts and pooping and gross stuff. You know the shows now. So recently, they had an episode where Squidward and SpongeBob were encountering a bunch of doors, and think Monsters, Inc. Each door led to a different place. And so Squidward was going crazy because he was trying to get out of wherever they were. And so he was opening the doors, going through them really quickly, and it was flashing different scenes and different areas. And yes, this appeared on actual television. Squidward opened one of the doors at the top, and that face from Squidward's suicide was in the door, staring at him.
Oh my god.
And then he slams the door. It was nuts. Everyone freaked out. It was as if they took the face. It was the exact face. The eyes, the black, the red. It was scary. It was uncut. They didn't censor anything. There wasn't any blood, I don't think. But they took that face and they put it in the episode. So if there was a kid watching and they had no idea what was going on, they would be horrified. That's just... And so the community freaked out because SpongeBob, the creators of SpongeBob, they were paying tribute to the huge internet legend that was from a couple years ago. It was awesome. It was great. For those of us...
goodness.
Yeah, for those of us that really
I just watched it happen. I was like, oh my god.
Yes. It's crazy. It makes it's actually kind of meta when you think about it.
Yeah, no, it's very meta. It was a lot to digest.
It was. It really was.
Now I'm very scared to watch SpongeBob again.
I know. Yeah.
To watch any cartoon of anything.
Yeah, it really makes you think. It makes you think about what goes into making these shows because... So, as I was saying in the past, or before at the beginning of this episode, it's not 100% certain that any of this is real. This could all be fake. We could all just be thinking that this is real and freaking out, and
we could have been bamboozled.
We could all be bamboozled. So these stories come from random sources from across the internet. Who knows? But I think that's part of the cool aspect of it. That's part of the fun. You have no idea where it came from. And that's the sketchy part because, I really hope none of these are real. If even one of them is real, it brings into question, did kids really get murdered in that SpongeBob episode? Because if so,
no.
I am out. I am never animating again. No.
I'll be like, bye, Deonte. Bye.
Whew, yeah. So during the research of this, so I live, for those of you that are new listeners, we are in college and I live in a suite. And there are a lot of college kids around me at literally every single moment of my day. And the college kids at ECU in particular, they like to walk out in front of the different buildings and make a lot of sound. So I live in a suite and my window is facing a courtyard. And as they walk through, they're just chatting with their friends. And if they're loud enough, I can hear them because I'm on the fourth floor. And so as I was recording all this information in Google Docs, someone screamed, Amanda, like,
Oh my goodness.
and I don't think it was meant to sound scary or anything. They just screamed. And I freaked out because I was literally just watching. I think it was in the middle of me getting the suicide mouse information down. Someone screamed, and it sounded like the scream from the video. And my roommate was gone. It was like 8 o'clock. I was in battle stations. I was so ready for something to come through that door, come out of my bathroom.
Yeah, no, I would have grabbed the nearest sharp object. I'd be like, okay, so we about to die. That's cool.
Oh boy. So yeah, this one was really fun. I really enjoyed doing the research. I think I'm gonna continue doing it as deep as this. I know it probably didn't seem that crazy, but 19
No, you
pages.
did good, Deonte.
Thanks. Yeah. I'll keep trying to find interesting stories for you guys and interesting stories that you'll enjoy as well, Amanda. This is one of the beefier ones. So, as I was saying, I'll alternate. Honestly, if you want to get messed up, if you want to get some crazy stuff, skip every other episode. You're really no, okay, don't do that. Oh God. I mean, if you're thrill seeking and you really want to find something scary,
Really tune into the next ones.
okay, please listen to all of them. We work really hard on this.
Yeah, that was sweet.
I will like to say one thing. I was looking at the statistics, and I'm pretty proud of it. It may seem like a small thing. We have 6 total downloads. That's crazy. 6
No, that
people.
really is. That's really.
6 of you out there.
Thank you to the 6 people
Yeah,
that
thanks,
are
guys.
staying tuned in.
I don't know where this podcast is going to go in the future, but I have always heard from people that are in positions like this that you appreciate the small things. Whenever you get up there, it's hard to appreciate each individual fan because there's so many of them. So I really appreciate each and every one of you that listen. All of
Hey,
you.
Tina.
Thanks, guys. Even you in your car, I see you there. Oh, I see you in the car. Don't crash. Oh, you're in the passenger seat.
Whoa. I'm in
Whoa.
your trunk.
Oh, snap. I'm in the glove compartment.
Open it up.
Okay.
You'll see us.
So yeah, that's all that I had for today. I hope you guys aren't shook. I was
Too
shook.
spooked.
I'm still pretty spooked, to be honest.
Ooh, Very
Ooh.
soon will be spooky season.
Yes, I was gonna say that. It's gonna be Halloween soon, dude.
And we gotta step it up. We gotta
excited.
spook some pants off.
Yeah, so Amanda and we've been trying to come up with something to do special for Halloween. If you guys have any suggestions, feel free to comment, leave it somewhere for us to see. Contact us on Instagram at the Oh Wow Podcast Instagram account. That'd be great. It'd be so much fun. We are gonna try to make it as awesome as we can for you guys.
Yeah.
We have a lot in mind. I
Ooh,
really.
my birthday's so soon.
It is. Oh, okay. For those of you that don't know, if you want to surprise Amanda, it is on November 2nd. Get it ready. Mark your calendars. Mine's kind of soon too. Mine's in January. It's the 15th of January.
Martin Luther King's birthday, that's all I know.
Heck yeah. We are bros. Oh, I probably shouldn't say that. Sorry.
You guys are
okay.
brothers.
Oh, jeez. That's so cool. Okay, guys. Amanda, do you think this is good? Are we